Next up, Steve Cryne is the president of the Canadian Employee Relocation Council. We'd like to welcome him back to the stage from this morning for a follow-up conversation. Please welcome Steve.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, sir. So, Steve, tell us just really, again, quickly, your role at CREC. And
I'm the president and CEO of the Canadian Employee Relocation Council. The council has been together since 1982, and essentially what we do is, the vision for the organization is really about building the future of Canada's workforce.
Right.
And we do that in four ways. We've got kind of 4 pillars of service. We do it through education, educating the professionals in the industry. Secondly, through our knowledge transfer through events such as this and trying to raise awareness about the importance of mobility for future growth and prosperity. We do it through information sharing, and a big part of our work is involved with advocating for change for the policies and
at the
government level, and the things that we really need to be doing in order to keep things on track. So that's a little bit about CERC. It's a vibrant organization, and it's reliant on its volunteers in many ways. So we rely on attracting those volunteers that have the skill sets as well that help us get through some of the challenges that we have.
You are keenly focused on the issue of demographics. I mean, the opening video was very clear about some of those impacts. The talent crunch is real. It's real today. It is possibly going to accelerate in the near future. And part of what you do is helping companies and countries really get aggressive about dealing with this. I think we have a slide. Let's put this quote up. This is really quite amazing. The talent shock is coming. It will arrive in years, not decades, regardless of the current economic crisis. It is now time for all involved stakeholders to ally forces and prepare for the era of extreme labor scarcity, significant talent mobility, and a truly global workforce. This is from the World Economic Forum, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's real here today.
Yes, it is. And the forum, the World Economic Forum, has been studying the issue of demographics for the past 3 or 4 years, such to the point that they put a team together, a research team together that brought business and government leaders together. They've done it on 3 occasions now in Davos, Switzerland, and they really believe that this issue is of significant threat to the global economy, not just to individual countries, but to the global economy. And to the point that we made in the video about the fact that we're so interconnected today, that really is the importance of it. And so one of the solutions to that is how do we really move the people around as best we can? I mean, part of our mission as an organization is to assist organizations to recruit, deploy, retain that talent, through some of the things that we do. So one of the things that's happened in the last few years, of course, with the recession is that I think that business leaders have taken their eye off the ball a little bit. It's been a question of how do we survive, how do we get through this recessionary period. But this is here. It is now, and we're already seeing the implications of it.
And this kind of statement isn't just about the new demographics coming in. It's the sunsetting issue where there is not a balance. It's imbalanced for replacement workforces in some places. I remember seeing numbers about in Brazil, for example, something like a quarter of the society is under the age of 25.
That's right.
And that's a staggering chunk of the population that's not yet ready to replace the other quarter of the society that may be sunsetting out of the workforce.
And that that's part of the problem is how do we engage that talent into the pipeline? How do we find ways to bring that demographic into the pipeline? Right. One of the things that we just talking about the Canadian experience for a moment. 1 in 4 people under the age of 25 are out of work in Canada, and yet we have this situation where We do not have, we say that we've got talent shortages, but at the same time, we've got to figure out ways in which we engage the talent that we have. So we're not suggesting for one moment that talent mobility is going to be the solution to all of these things, but what we are saying is it's one part of that.
Right, talent development will be a part of that solution as well as just moving them around.
Absolutely. Our immigration population, people with a degree that come to Canada from overseas, their unemployment rate is probably 3 or 4 times. It's about 13%. Whereas if you've got a degree and you're a degree out of a university in Canada, the unemployment rate among that group is about 4.5%, and that's the same in the U.S. as well. That's the challenge, I think.
So let's talk about this. Let's put up the graph on the.
Could we just go back to that?
You want to go back to this one?
Yeah,
first? Let's go back one for a second.
Let me just go back to this because I think Jean Charest, the Premier of Quebec. I mean, we're looking for leadership and a way in which we can perhaps galvanize people around this. Charest said this at the meeting. He talks about this is a global problem, and that one of the solutions to this is the reallocation of talent, and we need to use mobility in order to do that. Now, we've always thought of mobility, the way in which we move people around. We've got to take off the blinkers around that and think more creatively. And I think that's what as HR professionals and people in this industry have got to figure out is how do we do that? And Charest really gets it because he's been working in this field, and they in the province of Quebec. He is very passionate about this issue. He's taken leadership in Canada. They've developed an accord with France, which is their mutual recognition of skills. And when you talk to Charest, and I've been to a couple of meetings where he's spoken, and he said, we look forward to this war for talent. We're going to do the best that we can do to win. And by that, it means we're going to put in the things that we need to do in order to attract that global talent.
We've long accepted the globalization of commodities markets, globalization of finance, globalization of physical manufacture, for example. But do you think that the globalization of human talent is really something that companies are unprepared for? They really don't think about talent in terms of the 4 corners of the globe.
I think that's true. I think that paradigm is shifting. I think people are understanding that a lot more today. And one of the things, as we talk about demographics, PwC did a study called The Future of Work 2020. And in that report, they say that the young people today see global experience as a rite of passage.
Yes.
And those people that are going out and searching out those opportunities, those global experience opportunities, they are going to be the leaders of organizations in the future because the world is flat. It is so interconnected like we've never seen, and that's not going to stop.
Right. And it's actually easy for them to be willing to move from Sydney to Singapore to anywhere, because with the technology interconnectedness they have, they may actually be relocating to a place where they have an established social structure.
Yeah.
Whereas in the past, I think about expats in other countries where we actually had to create virtual towns around them. We've been to places in outside of Beijing where we literally create a virtual town for those foreign nationals to live and work and raise their children, whatever. And today, young people may actually have 10 friends in the city on Facebook that they've learned a lot about and are friendly with. And so saying to them, hey, would you consider a relocation to a new hotel opening in South Africa? And they say, gosh, that's a no-brainer for us.
Well, my daughter's a perfect example of that. She's lived in Peru, now she's living in Washington, and she already had those networks set up.
Right.
Me, I would be struggling about where do I find people, who do I talk to? It's already done.
Right. It's sort of the evolution from your college network really now to just a global village, if you will.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the third chart, though. I don't want to lose time for this. This is just an amazing visual of the talent crunch, of scarcity in the Canadian workforce. Tell us a little bit about this.
So very quickly, quickly.
This opens our eyes.
This was a study that was done by HRSDC. It was done in 2008. I don't think that very much has changed since 2008, other than maybe we moved those bars over by a couple, maybe one more year. But you can see that the sources of new labor, and those are for people coming into the workforce over 15, school leavers, immigration, how we make all of that up. And as you can see, as you go out further, project out further to 2017, pretty well any growth in our labor supply is going to be comprised of immigration. Now, between 1995 and 2004, immigration accounted for about 70%. Okay. Of our new workforce growth. So we rely very, very heavily in this country on new immigrants in order to help with our labor supply. And other countries are going to be doing that as well. Other OECD and right. developed countries are going to be relying on immigration to fill their shortages as well. So it's important that we have the things in place to fill those gaps, because we're certainly not going to be able to do it from our homegrown talent.
Well, and it's amazing because populations continue to explode as overall global prosperity makes it possible for people not only to live longer but to sustain larger family units. The United States is on track to move to about 450 million people from 325, 330 million people in the next 30 years. That's clearly an immigrant.
And that's the point. Just to sum up very quickly, but there's a very, very strong economic argument around this whole issue of immigration. And your president was speaking about this yesterday and the day before. And he reminded us that the influence and the contribution that immigrants make. Yahoo, Google, right. Google. I wish I was. Intel, Google, right. Yahoo.
Yes.
These companies were all founded
absolutely by immigrant talent.
Absolutely. Right.
Well, and we've known this. These are things that we knew from the turn of the last century as well. Most yes. of our countries were built on that. And I think that's something we just need to be smarter about and really be engaged in. I think companies need to understand this is not something just for policymakers. It's for policymakers and organizations together to be resolving. So, great. Thanks for sharing.